Hey y'all, happy Monday. This will be the Messy Monday video. I did do a surprise drop yesterday, so I hope that you all enjoyed that video. That was more of a thought-provoking conversation just around, one's self journey and the importance of just recognizing the needs, the unmet needs of our subconscious selves, not just our adult selves, but our childlike self and adolescent like self. So go check out that video. I basically was responding to the viral video by the YouTuber, the new trophy wife, Isis, where she became very popular for talking about going from being a single mother of two to a married, spoiled trophy wife within a year. And, basically jumped on that bandwagon of being a femininity coach, being a guru, and just being a walking billboard, supposedly for the lifestyle that many people desire to have. And unfortunately, everything that glittered was not gold. And more information has come out. I've seen a picture of her husband. He looks nasty. He looks real nasty. Another thing is I want to say 3 months into that marriage, she said that he sexually assaulted her, was raping her. So my whole thing is, you're getting on the internet and you're telling women how to get a lifestyle that really is nothing to strive towards. So that's intentionally being deceptive. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Y'all go listen to my video for my full thoughts. And I ain't even snap on her. I really didn't. I really didn't. I'm proud of myself. I was thinking about that this morning. How given the fact that there's two kids, two little girls involved, and y'all know that I am always specifically, talking about mothers with their daughters. I always put an emphasis on that. But I was surprised on how I navigated that topic and handled that. Like, I really did show her a lot of grace, because I'm just recognizing that, again, there is a loneliness epidemic out here. And when you compound that with pre-existing trauma of never feeling seen, never feeling believed or heard, never feeling protected, and you don't find a way to make peace with that, you don't find a way to fill that void on your own. And it is very hard. It is very hard to go through a lot of traumatic events and then pull from within and rely on yourself to fill that void. And as I stated in my video I did last night talking about it, I don't even have kids. So it's interesting. Something has shifted in me, because instead of me having that knee-jerk reaction to take off on her because of her kids, it actually made me be kinder, because I'm really seeing it for what it is. Like, yo, we lonely out here. A lot of us are having a hard time being alone. And to be honest, I'm not lonely. I'm more so lonesome, because you can be alone and be in solitude. You can be somebody that's just a lone wolf. You could be someone that's just an introvert, but loneliness that goes unchecked, that can be dangerous, because it leaves you vulnerable. It leaves you vulnerable to the frequency of vibrating from a place of lack and scarcity. It leaves you vulnerable to the frequency of vibrating from a place of desperation, and experiences that you attract that can be comprised of people with low character, it can lead to disastrous results, such as what happened to her daughters by the hands of their father, her husband. And I think she has 5 kids, because more details of the story just keeps coming out. So yeah, trying to pull from within and self-soothe while having to take care of kids, because at the time before she met this man, she had 2 boys. And that's another thing, she can't teach them boys how to be a man. It's a lot going on there. It's a lot going on there. She was already staying with somebody who kicked her out. Like, it's a lot going on there. I think she just really wanted her fairy tale ending. And she just really, especially with him being 20 years older. And granted, I like older men myself. I'm an old soul. I'm very wise beyond my years. So I naturally like older men myself, because it's very hard to find a lot of men around my age that are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually aligned with me. I'm not going to say on my level, but just simply in alignment. And I don't have an issue with the age gap. I know a lot of people try to make a thing of that, like the fact that there's a 20-year age gap, that's a red flag in itself. And that's just my personal bias. For my astrology girlies, I have Juno and Capricorn in the first house. I have a Libra North Node in the 10th house. Listen, I'm probably going to marry somebody older. And to be honest, at this point, because I don't know how old Isis is, but for me, it's like I'll be 30 in 2026. I'll be 29 on Saturday. So I just feel like once you get to a certain age, the age gap really doesn't matter if 2 people are mature enough and willing enough to be in a monogamous partnership where there's consideration across the board for each other's soul path, and then the collective divine duties that y'all are doing together if you are with your divine counterpart. So I personally disagree with that, but I'm also being honest. I'm also biased because I like older men. Not on no sugar baby. I ain't never been no sugar baby or nobody, nothing, but just as somebody who usually aligns from a mental and emotional level with men that are older. And older doesn't always mean mature. It really doesn't. That's why it comes back down to the quality of the character. No matter what you date for, if it's looks, if it's money, if it's career status, whatever the case may be, age, experience, still look at the quality of the character. Because wealthy doesn't mean better, fine doesn't mean better, age doesn't mean better. None of that stuff means better. You always look at the quality of the character. So, yeah. I just didn't agree with that part. I don't think that age gaps automatically are red flags. But I also don't know how young she is, but I will say that with her background story of her being abused, I think she's a product of her mother being abused, and then she was abused as a little girl. Now her 2 daughters. It's generational trauma. And I went in depth and in context in my video on Patreon, and to listen to this full video today for Messy Monday, you could sign up for my Patreon, or you could purchase it for $4.44. Either way, I would sign up for the tier, which is $7.77, because you'll get access to all my videos. I posted a Messy Monday last week, exclusively on Patreon. And this full video will be posted exclusively on Patreon. And then I did a surprise drop yesterday where I did a 30+ minute video on reacting to the new trophy wife, the ISIS situation. So it's content over there. Because like I said, I was asked, why am I doing content exclusively on Patreon? Because I'm tired of people stealing my talking points. I'm sick of it. I've seen it happen again with the election. I drop my video, then all of a sudden bigger content creators come out after the fact. And it's not to say that I'm the only person that thinks a certain way, but for me, when I see a content creator who's way bigger than me that usually does content from one perspective, and then conveniently when you finally present a shift in perspective is after my content has went up and my perspective is way in the minority, and most of these content creators run with the popular opinion and the popular crowd. Absolutely not. I actually wanted to put that trophy new wife video on YouTube. I really did, because the things that I discussed in that video is very important. I talked about schema therapy, narrative therapy, like different types of ways in which you can help yourself unlearn harmful thought patterns and ways of showing up with yourself, and how that runs parallel to how we show up when we have shared experiences with individuals. I talked about my personal experience of seeking and dating from a place of vulnerability and desperation, and how I got scammed out of $10,000 before. Like, it was a really good video, and I wanted to put it on YouTube, but I have to protect my peace. I have to protect my peace, and I have to honor my discernment. And I just, it's a better energy exchange to have my content on Patreon, because I know for a fact it's being valued because it's behind a paywall. That's number one. Everything is an energy exchange. But number two, I know that my intellectual property and substance is being preserved and protected. So yeah, make sure y'all sign up, because I still haven't put the $10 and 10 tier up. But once I run out of spaces with this $7.77 tier, then I'll put that $10.10 tier up, and that will just be the open tier for anybody else who wants to sign up moving forward. So yeah, Justin J actually had a good video on his Patreon. I'm subscribed to it, where he spoke about the election, and he did it on the In the Middle podcast. I forget the other girls. I think one girl's name is Tia, and I think the other guy's name is Deshaun. And it was almost 3 hours long. They did their big one with that. And you still have people that just refuse to see the light. They refuse to see the light. And I'm just at a point with that whole situation where I just say, listen, you can't control people, and you can't force people to see things your way. You can't control people, and you cannot force people to see things your way. And I don't think that we're meant to. I think that we waste a lot of time trying to get people that make it very clear that they're committed to seeing things their way, or they're committed to putting things in perspective another way. And we miss people that are just more easily aligned with our interests and what matters to us. So, yeah, it just is what it is. I'm going to continue to keep God first. Like I said, I vote for God daily, and it serves me just right. And if more people would do that, they wouldn't be weak in the knees, breaking down when things don't go their way. It's too much reliance. And I spoke about this on Patreon last night too, in my ISIS video. We have become way too reliant on living for others. And I said, going into my 29th year, because this was my year of mastering the law of detachment, learning to accept people and things for what it is, and not have it have such a big impact on how I'm engaging myself and showing up. And as I go into 29 and go into the year 2025, my mantra is, life is about improving yourself, not proving yourself. And that's part of why I'm taking a year off of social media, unlearning the need to live for others, to live with others in consideration, not from a heart-centered place or a substance place, but from an ego-centered place and a wanting to be seen. There's nothing wrong with external validation, nothing at all. But it's okay to check ourselves and be like, you know what? I'm becoming too reliant upon that. And I did need it, right? Because my self-esteem was very low for a long time as a result of grieving, as a result of estrangement and abandonment. I had to rebuild my sense of self, and rebuild and reframe my sense of self-value. And I did that with the help of our community. And I'm not ashamed of that. But now I'm at a place where I'm strong enough to better sustain myself without the consistent need of that external validation. And that's just life. It ebbs and it flows. So yeah, that's the mantra. Okay. Life is about improving yourself, not proving yourself. And I think a lot of that plays into it. Because again, going back to ISIS, the new trophy wife, before we get into the messy Monday topics, for you to be 3 months into that marriage, you saying that he R-word you, but then you get online and telling women they need to dress, present a certain way, and we as Black women, we're not used to hearing Black men talk to us a certain way, and you living in the house of horrors, that's unethical. It is. I ain't gonna do too much on you. But that's unethical. And I hate to say it, and I said this in my Patreon video. Some of us are hard-headed. I always go back to the situation with my family. I will never forget Miss J, Bianca Wisdom and Light. She did a reading for me in 2020 and told me the women in your family are very jealous of you. And you know it, but you look past it because you love them so much unconditionally. And what happened in the first quarter of 2021? My mother died, and then all that nonsense popped off. So sometimes you have to have your heart ripped out and stomped and thrown way across the ocean so that by the time you get there and you get a hold of it and you able to put it back in it and patch it back up, when you start to come back to, you're not even concerned with going back to where you started, because that journey has changed you so much. It's no way. And I hate that her daughters had to go through that. But I think if nothing extreme like that didn't happen, she would have continued to get on the internet and lie. She would have continued to lie to herself, and she would have continued to lie to us. And in a spiritual way, I think that needed to happen by way of her daughters, unfortunately, being on the receiving end of her decisions, so that she can clearly see it is not just you. Your divine duty is to be a vessel, a guardian, an authoritative figure, a protector on behalf of a bigger plan that goes beyond you, that goes beyond your daughters. You're supposed to be guiding them. So we got to get you back in alignment. And that's a fucked up way to do it. But you was going to keep, I mean, when he was R-wording you, you still was getting on the internet, perpetuating something that wasn't true. It just is what it is. Like, the universe whispers before it shouts. And I believe that universe was whispering, and unfortunately had to use her kids to like shout at her and show her like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah, that's just what I feel about that. So yeah, we're gonna get into the messy Monday topics. If you want to hear about spiritual whistleblower versus Shera 7, I don't know what's going on, but she's had her foot on Shera 7's neck, spiritual whistleblower, is known for talking about like narcissistic people. I think she comes from a background of dealing with like some narcissistic abuse. So she's very passionate with like just doing content around that. Bernice Burgos, she gets a lot of backlash after going on the Joe Budden podcast and saying that she used to make 30K a night. I'm already going to tell you, 2025 will make 10 years since, you know, that stripper bottle girl rise, right? And I'm gonna just say back then in 2015, that sound about right. That sound about right. Bernice Burgos was that girl, but we're gonna get into that more in depth on Patreon. Tina Knowles and Beyonce. You know, why is Tina Knowles always speaking for Beyonce? Candace Owens claps back after Tina Knowles responds to some claims that Candace Owens made, that I don't know if she was making these claims personally or if it was a matter of her just reading from other outlets. But there's a lot of reports coming out that supposedly a lot of Black public figures that were speaking at Kamala's you know, conventions and whatnot, her campaign stops, they were being paid. So we're going to get into that. Joe Budden's podcast has declined Melyssa Ford bullying. A lot of people feel like the quality of the JBP has declined. I personally just don't listen. If there is a topic that I know they have a history of showing objectivity on or insight on that gets proven to be true or of substance, then I will tune in. But other than that, one of the reasons why I stopped listening is because I have a hard time observing women in male dominated spaces that just kind of get talked over and has their insight belittled. It's just not my idea of a good time and I'm not interested. So we will get into that more. Cardi B doesn't drop her album on 11/11 and fans drag her. Supposedly Kim Barbie had put up a post, and I remember this before I left Twitter, where Cardi B was wearing a jersey and she had on the number 11. So a lot of people assumed she would be dropping them because Cardi B has always said that 11/11 is like her angel number. I actually thought she was going to drop on her birthday, but she didn't drop. So we will get into that. Armon, Wiggins, and Nicki Minaj have this back and forth trolling type of thing going on. So we're going to get into that. Oliver Twist and T.S. Madison are no longer a thing. Now, I do remember some information coming out where Oliver Twist felt like he did not get proper credit for something that he helped Madison do that ended up being featured on Renaissance. So it looks like that has come to a head, and Armon Wiggins had a lot to say about that too. And last but not least, Kenya Moore and her sense of accountability. We're going to get into her interview on the Tamron Hall show. And then the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. And Ari brushing off Yoshan when he said all she does is go out with Moneybag Yo, in a new clip of them playing. And Ice Spice's career is declining. So we will get into all of that on Patreon. Thank you so much for listening to this preview. I hope y'all have a great week and a great day. My Cash App is on the screen if you want to hit me. Birthday is coming up. It is my birthday week. But don't worry, Scorpios. Do not sting me. It's still y'all time. Happy solar return to the Scorpios. And happy upcoming solar return to us Saggies, us Archers. Have a great day. Bye. Okay, so for Patreon, let's get into the topic. So let's start with